To Radio Nation. I am your host, Nicholas Pescod. All right, so joining us live very, very shortly over the phone tonight is country musician and former Sunshine Girl, Krysta. So hold on one second while we gear up that phone call, and we're going to get that for you right now. So here we go, going live with Krysta.
Hello?
Hi, Krysta. It's Nicholas from Radio Nation. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. All right, so thanks a lot for taking the time out of your night to join us here.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked.
Excellent. So let's get right into your career here. You've auditioned for Canadian Idol. You've performed national anthems at various arenas. You've had an interesting career. How did you get your start in music?
Well, I got my start pretty early, actually. I was 6 or 7 years old when I joined the Children's International Peace Choir in Hamilton. And ever since then, I've been performing, whether it be like locally on, stages at school or local theaters and stuff like that. And then started writing when I was in grade 5, I believe it was. And I don't know, I just kind of stuck with it ever since. I took a little bit of time off for a few years there and then got back into it. And here I am. It's just been a whirlwind. It's absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful.
You've performed at a few venues, including you were in Niagara Falls not too long ago, and you were in Toronto not too long before that. What's it like performing in venues just sort of all over the GTA? Because you seem to sort of be sporadic with wherever you play.
Like what it's like in the clubs to play?
Yeah, exactly. What's it like going from Niagara Falls to Hamilton to Toronto to Oshawa to Owen Sound?
Right. Well, it definitely varies city by city. For sure, Toronto is a really hip crowd. They're a lot of fun, and they like to party hardy, that's for sure. And then, compare that to maybe Grand Bend, where I do a lot of country shows out there. It's a lot more laid back, although they can party really hard too. But definitely the crowds do vary, especially when if I'm doing covers of country music compared to covers of pop music, the crowd is definitely so different. I find the country crowds love to hear a little bit of everything, whereas the pop crowd wants to hear just the pop stuff. So it definitely does change. I love my country fans. My country fans are my fave, that's for sure.
Who are your idols, I guess, or who did you really admire growing up, sort of country-wise, or just musically in general?
Well, growing up, I wasn't really too into country music. I used to listen to a lot more contemporary artists, like, of course, the great Whitney Houston. She was always my favorite. Mariah Carey was a huge one for me. Celine Dion, I used to listen to a lot. And then, of course, Michael Jackson. I just absolutely love Michael. He is my ultimate favorite.
What was it about Michael Jackson that you loved, although there isn't, much to not like about him musically?
Well, with Michael, it was the way that he infused his heart and his soul and his life into every single thing he did, whether he was singing or performing, dancing. His passion was just second to none, and I absolutely admired that, because I try to do the same thing. When I'm on stage, I give my all 100%, whether there's 10 people in the crowd or 10,000, it doesn't matter to me. And that was something that Michael took very seriously, and dress rehearsals weren't even rehearsals to him. It was always the real deal, and I think that's something that I've translated into my own life personally.
At the age of 12, you were diagnosed with scoliosis. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but you went through a bit of a troubling time there. Your father also passed away, if I'm not mistaken, around that time as well. How did you deal with all that sort of at a really young age?
Well, that was a really hard time for me. My dad passed away from cancer when I was 11, and then a year after that I was diagnosed with scoliosis, which is basically a curvature of the spine. So I was in the hospital. I had to have surgery, a 14-hour surgery to repair it, and it was a really trying time for me. And the thing that actually got me through all that and the loss of my father and everything was music. That's when I started writing. I was in grade 5 when he passed away, and that's where I got my start with writing, because that was the way that I was able to channel my hurt and my pain and my love and all my different emotions into song, and it was my escape. Like that was the way that I coped, definitely, was with writing and singing and performing.
At such a young age, when you're in grade 5 and that sort of thing, what's it like? Did you just sort of sit down and just start writing? Was there really, a musical thought process to how to write a song? How did that come about for you? Did you just start writing and then put it into lyrics?
Yeah, I did. I started with the lyrics. Like, I used to like to write poetry and that. And then it was just really natural for me. I would just sit there and I can pen out a song in a matter of minutes, because naturally. I don't really know how it works. It's kind of hard to explain, but I never really sit down and force myself to write because it never really happens that way. But it started at a very young age where I was able to translate what I was feeling into music and into poetry or into a song, into lyrics. And for some reason, I'm just so grateful that it just happens very easily for me. And even to this day, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and write a whole song down, and then go back to bed and wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh yeah, there that is. It's weird.
What then is, I guess talk to me quickly a bit about what was it like performing or even auditioning for Canadian Idol?
That was really mind-blowing. That was in 2001, so it was the first year that Canadian Idol came out, and I was absolutely terrified, to be completely honest, because auditioning is not my thing, and I have to do it pretty often, especially with my acting and stuff, but I don't like singing in front of or performing in front of small groups of people. I find the smaller the amount of people in the room, the harder it is for me because it's more intimate and I feel more exposed. I'd rather be performing in front of literally thousands of people rather than like two. And that was really nerve-wracking for me, but it was a really fun day because I went with my sister and my best friend Steph, and we were waiting out in the sun all day, and we got to meet Ben Mulrooney and the different hosts and stuff like that. So it was a really fun day, but definitely very, very nerve-wracking. I didn't like that part.
What did you think of meeting Ben Mulrooney?
I thought he wore a lot of makeup. Actually, that was the only thing that I really remember. He was a nice guy, and that was kind of cool. But it was weird being behind the scenes like that because I hadn't really done too much of that at that point. So seeing all the cameramen and Ben there with his makeup on and everything, and yeah, it was kind of cool.
I guess talk to me before that edition. What was it? What was like the first time you ever performed? What was that feeling like? Like how nervous were you? And talk to me about what that was like.
Oh man, well, I think probably the main memory that sticks out most was when I was performing with the choir, and I must have been about 7 years old at the time. We had a big show at a church, and my mom and my dad and my grandparents, all of the people came out to see me, and I was so nervous, but I was so proud at the same time because my dad had one of those old school VHS cameras where the tape actually went right in it, and he made a video right then and there, and then we were able to go home and watch it on the VHS, the VCR. So it was a really cool moment because I was so proud, but at the same time I was so scared. So it was very liberating but humbling at the same time.
Now, since then, you've had the fortunate opportunity to perform the national anthem at the Tigers, Hamilton Tiger Cats games, Hamilton Bulldogs game. What's that like for you to sort of be able to sing the country's national anthem at some pretty solid venues?
That is probably one of the most incredible experiences, I'd have to say, especially for the Tiger Cats. I just did the Labor Day Classic a couple weeks ago, and there was 31,000 plus people there, and I can't even explain to you the feeling of not only singing for, but singing with that many people, and the feeling that you have just completely united, but definitely nerve-wracking. I'm always nervous doing those, doing the big anthems like that because, I've seen so many people in the past have troubles with the lyrics and stuff like that, so that's always on my mind. But I can't even explain the feeling. It is just so overwhelmingly powerful, but it makes you feel so small at the same time. It's just the two complete opposites. It's so cool.
Is that one of the biggest things then? Is that you go in there worrying like I don't want to screw up the anthem lyrics?
What's that? Sorry?
Is it one of the biggest things for you? I guess for anybody that goes in singing the national anthem, is one of those fears like just worrying that you're going to screw up the anthem lyrics?
Yes, yeah, it's crossed my mind ever since that whole Christina Aguilera thing happened last year, whenever that was, the year before. Everybody always makes jokes about it when I'm waiting on the sidelines on the field or on the at the rink waiting to go out there. Everybody always makes a joke about that. I'm like, dang it. I try to forget that part because it does happen. Like, we're all human, right? So everybody makes mistakes, and especially when you're under that type of pressure, it happens. It really does happen, and you can't beat no one up about it. But of course, when you're in the spotlight, everything's just like under a microscope. So it happens.
We're going to switch gears a little bit here and talk a little bit about your acting career, which you've also alluded to earlier in this interview. How did you get into acting, and what sort of roles and gigs have you been into?
Well, my mom put me in acting lessons when I was 3 or 4. I was a really, really shy kid, so she thought that would help, and it went horribly wrong. I was even worse after that, so I kind of put it on the back burner for a bit, and then I got back into it in grade school doing plays and stuff like that. And then, high school, I took drama and all those fun classes. Then it translated into more of an actual career. Just about 5 or 6 years ago, I started working on set, doing some extra work and getting in that way. And, sign up with an agent. And then before you know it, you're doing TV shows and commercials and videos and all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm very, very lucky.
What's been sort of the one enjoyable thing about acting, whether it was a gig that you did or like filming a commercial or whatnot? What was one thing that you really, really enjoyed about it, or one really cool experience that you've had in acting?
Well, I love how acting, you get to embrace, different parts of yourself, and you get to play a different character, be someone different for a day. And, we've all got different sides to ourselves, and some days we tend to embrace one more than the other. But I think so far my favorite day on set would probably be when I did the Lookalike show. It was a couple years ago now. That was so much fun because I was able to bring my family with me that day and my friends. So, on a typical work day, I'm by myself, not with my husband or any of my best friends or anything like that, my family. But that day I was able to bring them all, and it was so much fun because we were just all in Toronto for the day and working with some really talented people. The cast and crew there are absolutely amazing, and that was something I will never forget, that's for sure.
Now, you were also a Sunshine Girl. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know what? I love working with the Toronto Sun. It's a great group of people, and I've shot with them 5 times now, and we're planning out the 6th date, actually, to shoot with them in the fall again. It's really cool. The Sunshine Girl can be kind of a risque topic a little bit, but for me it's been absolutely fabulous exposure because I don't mind embracing that part of myself as well. And my golden rule is if my grandma can't hear it or see it, then I won't do it. And she's actually always cutting out the little clippings of the photos out of the paper and showing her friends, so it's hilarious.
That's actually really cool.
I know, right? Isn't that awesome?
How did it happen the first time? I mean, did they contact you, or did you sort of audition or send in modeling samples to them? How does that work?
They actually contacted me through Facebook. Ironically enough, I've got a couple of pages up there. So, yeah, they had contacted me out of the blue. I'd never even really thought about it before. It almost seemed like an unattainable thing. I don't know why. Sometimes we think that those kinds of things aren't able to happen for us, and I was one of those people too, and just it randomly happened out of the blue, and they contacted me, and I'm very lucky that way. It happens quite often, even with music and booking venues and acting gigs, all kinds of stuff like that happens, and I'm very grateful for that because I've been working with the Sun ever since. It's been amazing.
Was it, when they contacted you, was it like clearly a legitimate thing? It didn't sound like it was just some guy in his basement.
No, I knew because we were dealing over the phone and as well through email and stuff like that. So I knew I was actually speaking with the Sun because that does happen. You're right. There's a lot of say photographers out there, wannabe people who aren't always legit, and you do have to be very, very careful. But with the Sun, I know they're such a reputable newspaper that I definitely knew I was dealing with professionals for that.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to switch gears here again. We'd like to do this thing here on Radio Nation where we interview you, and then we ask a lot of fun questions as well. A lot of really random and quirky questions here. So it's just me tonight. Usually we have the co-host, but it is just me. So it's called the speed round, and basically we just ask you random fun stuff, and you got to answer it as fast as you can. So the first question is, what was your favorite Disney movie growing up?
Oh my goodness. I want to say The Land Before Time and The Little Mermaid.
Those are pretty good choices, not going to lie.
Yeah, The Land Before Time was so sad, though, and The Little Mermaid actually made me quit eating fish. My mom always made jokes that she was going to sue Disney because all of us, my brother and my sister and I, stopped eating seafood after that one.
Now, musically, if there was anywhere you could perform in the world, where would it be?
Oh, man, definitely Madison Square Gardens, because I've heard once you sell out there, you can play anywhere.
One place you'd always like to visit?
A place?
Yeah.
Australia.
Good choice. Very good choice. And what is it about Australia that makes you want to go there?
I just love their accents, and I love how they have beautiful beaches. I had a roommate, actually, who was from Australia, and she was so cool, and I saw all kinds of photos, and it just seems like everyone from Australia is so laid back and chilling and really cool, and I'd like to try surfing out there.
That would sound like a lot of fun. I would love to try that too.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go one day. I'll let you know, okay?
Sounds good. Now, what is your favorite food that you either like to cook or to make or to eat? What kind of things do you like cooking and making?
I love pizza. Pizza is absolutely one of my favorite foods, and I love to make them because you can make your own personal ones at home, and it's got all the food groups, right? Except for I'm vegetarian, so I don't need any of the meat, but I just stock up on extra veggies.
Fair enough. Now, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve? Oh, I don't know. I guess just when people aren't honest with you, perhaps. Because, you know, we all have different quirks and stuff, and no one's perfect, so I don't like it when people kind of hide parts of who they are. I think it's good to embrace and be honest. Embrace yourself 100% and be honest with yourself and with others.
What is where is one venue that you've performed in your career that you really, really enjoyed, but you didn't think you were going to enjoy it so much when you went into it?
That is a really tough question. No one's ever asked me that before. Maybe, you know what, maybe Gable's out in Grand Bend, because I've never been out there, and it seems like a really small place. It's on the west coast of Ontario, for those who don't know. I'd never been before, but I got there, and it was absolutely an amazing, amazing venue, full of great people, and they ended up booking a house gig, so I play there every Thursday in the summers. It's amazing.
Very, very cool. Now, in terms of your music, we're going to go back a little bit more to your music career here. Let's talk a bit about some of the music that you have out there, and you gave me a couple of the songs, Country Girl, and talk a bit about that song, and I guess where do you draw inspirations for your music?
Where, sorry?
Where do you draw, like, inspirations for your music?
For recording those songs, or?
Just like recording or writing or sort of any aspect when it comes to creating music.
Oh, creating music, yeah. Okay, well, with Country Girl, that was actually the first country song that I wrote probably about 5-6 years ago, and that one was recorded in a friend's studio, so it's a little bit older, that one, but that was definitely a process that I began because when I first met my now husband, DJ, to be honest, I wasn't really too into country music, but he was, and so that was kind of like a little way that I was, you know, playing into his side of things and seeing if maybe he would like it, and then it kind of just grew from there up into the point where now I'm working on a bunch of new music with my producer Anthony Vaughn, who's also my guitarist for our live shows, and he's absolutely incredible and super talented, and that's the little teaser there that you have for a new song called My Mistake, and I'm so excited about it, although the one that you have there is a bit of a chicken scratch one. We weren't really planning on releasing it, but you get the idea anyway of what we're working on, and hopefully in this fall sometime we'll have an EP of at least 3 to 5 songs, I think.
Now, I guess what then after the EP is sort of the next step for you? Is it sort of just getting that EP out there, performing more gigs? Well, what's sort of the next step for you?
The next step?
Yep.
I think, well, once the EP's out, then I'm definitely going to hit up probably all of the radio stations, of course, send it out, hopefully get it spinning. And then I would like to do a little bit of a tour. I would like to go across Canada, even if we did like a little acoustic thing or something, but that's something that we're planning out. So hopefully, I don't know if we do it over the winter months, though. Living up here in Canada, it's a little bit harder in the wintertime to get around, driving around, you know, coast to coast, but definitely that is coming up soon.
Absolutely. And I guess if there's one spot that you really want to perform in Canada, where would it be?
I would love to perform at the ACC because I have really big dreams and really big goals, and definitely I've seen so many amazing artists perform there, and I always dream and picture myself up on there. So I would love to perform on that stage 100%.
Now, is there anything else you want to add before we let you go for tonight?
Sorry?
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we let you go tonight? I guess you should probably want to touch on how people can get a hold of you.
Oh, of course, yes. Definitely, people can find me online. My online home is my website, which is KrystaLee.com, and that's spelled with a K, K-R-Y-S-T-A. And of course, you know, I've got Twitter, I've got Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, all those little links and stuff like that. And I want to thank you, of course, for having me on your show, Nick. This has been absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful that you're supportive of indie artists and great music. I've been listening to the show, and I love all the tunes that you're playing, and I think you're doing an amazing job, so thank you.